right now on Alabama Tonight.
Can the Florida Gators upset Alabama, or will the Tide continue to roll? We'll preview the game. Plus, the Tigers survived a Thursday night scare in Manhattan, Kansas. Don Haas has the recap. Also, a big night for high school football. Donette Halsey will join us from McAdory High School with our Game of the Week. And the iconic Crystal Football is in the studio. We'll tell you what role it has in the new era of the college football playoff. All that and so much more right now on Alabama Tonight.
From Alabama's 13, this is Alabama Tonight.
Hello and welcome to Alabama Tonight. So glad you could join us. I'm Tom Menino. Don Haas currently on his way back from Manhattan, Kansas. He's got a long walk. We hear he's about halfway home by now. Only kidding. We'll hear a report from him later on in the show. First, as always, we want you to be a part of the show. You can like us on Facebook, Alabama Tonight. Follow us on Twitter, @Alabama Tonight. So let's bring in Lisa Crane for a look at what you are saying on social media.
You know, a lot of folks still talking about Jameis Winston, and his future with the NFL. We still want to know what you think about it, too. Will his conduct have an effect on his future in the NFL? You can let us know right now on Facebook and Twitter. All you have to do is search Alabama Tonight. And we also want to hear what you thought about Auburn's close win last night over Kansas State. How do you think the Tide is going to do tomorrow against Florida? What about your thoughts? What do you think about last night's game?
Very impressed with the way Auburn threw the football. I think that's the big takeaway from this. And yeah, they hung around. It was a resilient win for them. You knew it wasn't going to be easy. Any Auburn fan who thought Auburn was going to win by 21. By the way, you were the only one in the Alabama Tonight picks who had Auburn not winning by 9 points.
Yeah,
so
I didn't think they would cover that spread.
Impressive right there from
my
Lisa.
First win. We'll see if that lasts.
Well, we'll see. Hopefully it will. We'll see it a little bit. All right. Well, it's almost time for league play to begin for the Crimson Tide. Kickoff less than 24 hours away for Florida versus Alabama. Here are the game notes for Saturday's 2:30 kickoff. 38th meeting between the Tide and the Gators. Bama leads the series, 22 wins, 14 losses. How about this for a stat? Way to go, Patrick Pierce, the producer, the truth with this one. Alabama has not lost an SEC opener since 1991 to guess who? The Florida Gators. 35-0 at the Swamp. More on the game from Nick Saban and Will Muschamp and our BamaChannel.com update.
Games like this, players really get excited. If they don't understand Alabama football and they don't understand playing in the SEC. But I think we got enough guys on our team that really understand that, so I don't think that should be an issue. I also think that fans get excited, and I think it's important that they, create an atmosphere that's going to help our team have the best chance to be successful in this game.
Got a lot of respect for Nick. Probably wouldn't be standing here if it weren't for the opportunities he gave me early in my career, and he's an outstanding football coach. They've got a really good football team offensively. They're playing both Sims and Coker at quarterback, very similar guys, both very good athletes, accurate throwers. There's not a whole lot of change schematically when either one of them are in the game. Very talented at the running back position in Yeldon and Henry and Drake, and they got some talented guys who are on the bench, can't get in the game.
Have some talent at wide receiver, too. Sure, they won't be on the field at the same time, but also a big wide receiver showdown tomorrow in Tuscaloosa, featuring two of the nation's leading receivers. Through 2 games this season, Florida's Demarcus Robinson has reeled in 21 passes, 339 yards, 3 touchdowns. As for the Tide's Amari Cooper, we all know the kind of year he is having so far. Cooper, 33 receptions, 454 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Once again, the Tide will host the Gators tomorrow at 2:30. Look for coverage on Alabama's 13 News on Saturday. The Tigers return to campus after kicking off Week 4 of the college football season with a 20-14 win over Kansas State. Here are some of the highlights. Fourth quarter, it's Nick Marshall. An impressive night for him throwing the football. Hits Duke Williams for the touchdown. What a catch by Williams as well. That put the Tigers up 17-7. Kansas State added a late touchdown to cut the lead to 6, but Marshall to Williams once again, this time on 3rd and 9 with under 2 minutes to go, and that sealed the game. Tigers win it 20-14. Auburn really struggled in the running game last night, which, as we all know, is extraordinarily rare. Tigers rushed for 128 yards. Going into last night's game, Auburn averaged 330 yards per game on the ground. An even tougher time on the ground, though, for Kansas State. Auburn's defense held the Wildcats to just 40 yards rushing. Both Auburn and Kansas State able to pass the ball last night. 231 yards for the Tigers, 245 for the Wildcats. Auburn, 359 yards of total offense. That's down from their average to this point in the season of 544 yards per game. Don Haas was there for it all. Has more on our AuburnChannel.com update.
On a night when the Auburn offense was not its typical self, the Auburn defense picks things up, and the Tigers leave town with a 3-0 record.
We've been there in them, big time games. So, I can't really do too much but applaud the offense and defense for stepping up, when it counts most.
We worked it since last week, game plan, in and out, Monday through Friday. So, it paid off tonight. It was a good game, but when adversity hit, everybody got to be ready for it.
Great win. That showed that we can overcome anything. This is a tough environment to come. I don't know if every team can come here and win against these boys. These boys are really good. And we came together as a team, and we won.
It'll help us moving forward because even though last year's team would handle adversity as good as any team I've seen, this year's a new team. We got a lot of guys back, but it's a new year. And so we learned a lot about our guys, and I told them in the locker room, very proud of them to find a way to win. A lot of teams couldn't win in this environment against a team that talented.
So after a big emotional win for the Tigers here, they head back to the Plains. They step out of conference for a game next week with Louisiana Tech. Covering Auburn in Manhattan, Kansas, Don Hawes, Alabama's 13 Sports.
Thank you very much, Don. Auburn will return to Jordan-Hare Stadium next Saturday, September 27th. They'll take on Louisiana Tech. That game kicks off at 3 o'clock. But, after La Tech, the schedule gets much, much tougher for the Tigers. LSU comes to town on October 4th. On October 8th, Tigers head to Mississippi State. Auburn hosts South Carolina on October 25th. November 1st, the Tigers travel to Ole Miss. Texas A&M. Man, does that game look tougher now. They'll head to the Plains on November 8th. And November 15th, Auburn heads to Georgia. Tough matchup there. Tigers get Samford at home before a little game against Alabama. They call it the Iron Bowl, November 29th. That game should get a little bit of interest. Besides Alabama and Florida, the other big game in the SEC this weekend, 8th-ranked LSU hosting Mississippi State. It has been a long time since the Bulldogs beat the Tigers. Kyle Berger has more on Mississippi State and LSU in tonight's SEC Roundup.
History would tell us that Mississippi State has no chance at beating LSU. LSU head coach Les Miles is 9-0 against the Bulldogs. The closest Mississippi State head coach Dan Mullen has come to beating LSU was 10 points back in 2009. This series dates back to 1896. LSU has more wins over Mississippi State than any other school in the SEC, but those numbers won't matter on Saturday night. This game will be played under the lights in Tiger Stadium, where LSU has posted consecutive shutouts against Sam Houston State and Louisiana Monroe. Both teams come into this game with 3-0 records and a lot of momentum. The key for the Bulldogs to pull an upset, quarterback Dak Prescott needs to find a way to protect the football against the nation's third-ranked pass defense.
Always a tough environment to go into, especially a team you look that brings so many weapons to the table. On defense, they haven't given up they've given up 7 points in the last 10 quarters. They've given up 200 yards total game. Number one defense, I think, I know in the SEC, probably in the country at this point of the season on the defensive side of the ball. So obviously a huge challenge for our offense whenever you're going to play statistically it's the best LSU defense I think we've ever played going into a game.
Mississippi State is only one of 2 teams unranked in the SEC West. If they can take down number 8 LSU, look for a healthy jump in the polls.
All right, thank you very much, Kyle. LSU and Mississippi State, they kick off Saturday night at 6 o'clock. High school football continues tonight. Be sure to check us out on Touchdown Friday. Coverage begins at 10:20 later this evening right here on Alabama's 13. Here's a look at the games we will be covering tonight. 5 matchups to watch for. Demopolis at Helena, Hoover at Thompson, Parker taking on Fairfield, Jemison at Calera, and our game of the week, Selma taking on McAdory. Donat Halsey standing by at McAdory High School with a preview of our game of the week. Donat.
Hey, Tom, McAdory is still in the field warming up for tonight's game as they host Selma. Earlier this week, I caught up with head coach David Powell to talk about tonight's opponent, his starting quarterback, and much more. Coach, you guys are undefeated taking on Selma. I know you had a bye week last week. What have you guys been working on the field that we can see in tonight's game?
Just really for us, we've just been getting back to basics, a lot of fundamentals, just staying hungry, staying focused on improving, and this team has done a good job of staying hungry.
One thing I noticed about your team, you seem to be a team when it comes to the field. Everyone works together, no standout players. But one thing, you have Jordan Jones, first-year starting quarterback. What have you seen from him? Are you looking for things to improve from him this year, or is he doing pretty much what you want? He
started out with a great year so far. Jordan is a first-year starter, but he's been with us since his freshman year. So this is actually his 3rd year on the varsity with us. And we got all the confidence in the world in Jordan. He's a great athlete and a big-time playmaker for us, and he started off so far this season. He's done an outstanding job.
You guys are taking on Selma, only one loss. Any kind of secrets you guys have for tonight's game?
We're really just trying to play fast, play physical, and play McAdory football, and that's what our plan is for tonight. And looking for a great game, and hopefully a great win.
Great, thanks, Coach. Tom McAdory remains undefeated. As you heard Coach David Powell say, they're hoping they can keep that streak alive tonight. We'll let you know if that happens at 10:20 on Touchdown Friday. In McCalla covering McAdory High School, Donette Halsey, Alabama Tonight.
Thank you very much, Don. That's still ahead. If you thought the iconic Crystal football was leaving college football, think again. You know how we know it's not leaving? It's here in studio, and we'll show it to you next. Plus, NFL Commissioner Roger Goodell spoke to the media this afternoon. We'll hear what he has to say about the image of the National Football League. Lisa.
Yeah, we still want to hear from you at home. What do you think about Jameis Winston's future? Plus, we want to hear your thoughts on Auburn's win over Kansas State last night. And how do you think the Tide's going to do tomorrow against Florida? Search Alabama Tonight on Facebook or Twitter. Let us know, and you too can be a part of the show. You are watching Alabama Tonight.
Today's top story on BamaChannel.com is sponsored by Alpha Insurance.